Hey there, comic book friends, I'm Travis, and this is another edition of Monster Comics Reviews. And it's just me again. Don't have my partner. Not sure when I'll have my partner again. The teenage life has taken over, I think. So, Ethan's still reading books. He's way behind on reading them, though. And I'm not sure when he'll get caught up. So, anyway, just me for now, unless I find a new partner in crime, as it were. DC. This is first week of April. It's the first week of the gatefold covers, the old WTF, the What the 52. And just as a general about these covers, here's the Animal Man. Number 19. There's the cover. Basically, every single one of these that I've looked at has not just a spoiler, it tells you the story. So you can just open these up, look at the gatefold cover, put the comic back in the bag. Tells you the story right there. Well, it's a funeral for Cliff. Cliff must be really dead. Okay. End of that. Okay, so it's not that bad, but whereas I think the gatefold covers are cool because you get the extra artwork and stuff. That's awesome. Starts to make up for all the damn ads over this last year that DC's put across the top of their books and whatnot. But still, I don't know. It kind of sucks that it's actually not just potential what might have been in the book, but literally is what's in the book. So that's kind of a bummer. Anyway, let's talk Animal Man issue 19. I really like this story. I love the art in it. It's a tough story. I mean, it's hard. Maybe more hard so as a parent, imagining what it'd be like to have the loss of a child. So maybe it wouldn't have as much of an impact on a younger reader, depending on what your own personal experiences are. But I really liked it. I love the towards the end of it, Buddy takes us to the highest power that he can find. Calls bullcrap, tells him to stop, tells him to change it all, and the red being the kind of ultimate power that is, it pretty much tells him to shut up, that he's relatively insignificant in the grand scheme, and they basically shut him out. He's still going to be the Avatar, not the Avatar, but a Knight of the Red, and he can go about being Animal Man and whatnot, but he will not talk to the Red anymore unless the Red wants to talk to him. As simple as that. Now, some people have said, oh, the mom in here, she's horrible. Ghost Critic's gone so far as saying they should just kill her. Okay, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, she's just dealing with grief in a different way than maybe everybody else is. And one child is dead. She's going to do everything she can to make sure the next child does not die. The oldest child died because of this whole, the Red and all of this craziness. And she's not going to allow her daughter to participate in that. Of course, she doesn't really seem to have a choice in the matter, but she doesn't understand that she doesn't have a choice in the matter. So she's going to do everything she can to keep that from happening. That, to me, sounds very reasonable. Maybe not as reasonable as accepting, okay, whether I like it or not, this is part of what Maxine is, and we just have to deal with it. She's in those first stages still of denial and saying, you know what, no, I'm not having anything to do with this. She decided she wants nothing to do with Buddy anymore because all Buddy does is remind her of all this craziness that she can't have anymore. That she's always worried about, even in the first issues of Animal Man. She worried about that stuff. But that's when it just had to do with just Buddy. Now it's everybody, and if it's going to be everybody, she's not going to have anything to do with it. So I really liked it. I like the story. I'm really, really curious to see where the whole story goes from here. What kind of stories are we going to tell? But I'm on board. I'm on board for Animal Man for a while. I think it's going to be pretty cool because I think we're going to deal with more emotional content than flashy story. And I think that's going to be great to see in a superhero comic, that a more emotional type content that goes along with it. So, excellent book. I really enjoyed it. Next, Batwing, and this is issue 19. Woo, big issue here. As I think this is the first changing of hands for the New 52, as far as somebody has a title, somebody is a hero, and they give it up and somebody else is going to take their place. In this issue, the person doesn't actually officially take the place, but David, who I really liked the character, gives up the mantle of Batwing, decides it's not the way that he can operate. Okay, this is the first issue that Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray wrote. I'm not totally on board with this book. I mean, I'm going to keep reading Batwing for a while and see what these guys do with it. But this story kind of bugged me. One of the things that bothers me is pretty much David's entire life and existence gets utterly destroyed, pretty much. And he decides that he can't operate the same way Batman does, that the symbol of the Batman and all that kind of stuff in Africa and in the Congo just does not work. And he's going to have to operate in some different fashion. And he doesn't really say what that fashion is, but you almost get the impression that he's going to, if he has to operate in some way that's outside of the way that Batman Incorporated and Batman operates, doesn't that only imply that the way he's going to have to operate is by fighting fire with fire in these places where there's people do these bloody massacres and stuff? So, and if that's the case, is he implying that that's what he's going to do? He's going to enact that level of violence on the bad guys to try and correct a change? And if that's the case, in this, basically Batman gives him a ringing endorsement. Hey, if you ever need anything, you know, let me know. I'll help you out. You know, good for you to be your own man, blah, blah, blah. I just don't think that Batman would endorse that if that's what is implied. And I don't understand what it is if that's not what's implied. So, if you happen to be reading Batwing and you're willing to make some comments down there, make some comments and let me know what you thought of that, how you interpreted that. Who they're going to have be the new Batwing, I think is going to potentially be pretty cool. Of course, they're tying it more into the whole Batman family, because Batwing has been kind of a really odd book in the Batman universe, if you're going to believe it as being a Batman universe kind of a thing, because it really has no connection to Batman. Whereas the new character that's going to be Batwing is tied to the whole Batman universe, in that, I'm going to spoil it here, so if you don't want to know, go away for a minute or two. It's Lucian Fox's son, who I didn't even know he had a son. But anyway, that's what's going to be. He's been training for a lot of years for this. He basically graduated from MIT. He's super smart, whatnot, but they show him in here, and he's MMA fighting and winning pretty handedly. So he's got all this training, and he's thinking about the fact that he's trained all his hard to do this and whatnot, because it's what he wants to do. It's everything, and they imply in here this is really that this character would have been Batman's first choice for Batwing, but for some reason he wasn't, because he wasn't ready yet or something like that. So why he chose somebody else, I'm not sure. But I'm hoping in the next issue we get some more motivation as to why this character would want to be in Batman Incorporated. I mean, is he a thrill junkie? What's his motivation? What's his motivation to want to be part of that and not be like what his father is, or something along those lines? I will say I like the new Batwing costume. The old Batwing costume was fine, but the new one looks really pretty sinister there and pretty cool, I think. So yeah, we'll see if it has any new bells and whistles. We'll see if Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray can kickstart this book and increase the sales on it, or whatever they are attempting to do. Obviously, somebody thought the book was floundering and took these guys' pitch on what they thought they could do with the book. So yeah, be curious to see where it goes, and for how long I'll keep collecting it, depending on where it goes. Okay, next up is Dial H, number 11. I absolutely loved this comic. It was an absolutely fabulous story. We finally tie together the stuff that happened in issue 0, which we as the audience know what's going on, but they as characters in the book did not. They tie those things together. The realization comes to them as Nelson dials up the Flash that they are stealing hero personas from somebody else. And when he dials up the Flash, the thought of, oh my God, did we just kill the real Flash by dialing him up? Was he in doing something special, and suddenly we took his powers away from him? What does that all mean? Absolutely great. It's also the beginning of this, from where the book ended last time. The whole uncomfortable, the two of them having slept together, is uncomfortable and really well written. I really enjoyed that. For some reason, now the Ponticelli artwork inked by Dan Green is suddenly working really well. It felt really good. It didn't seem misshapen. The characters seemed right. Just really enjoying the story, and really, really curious to see where this goes now as the Centipede, as he, for whatever reason, is unleashing this force upon the dial users, to possibly clean this whole thing up and make the dialing stop and all of that. It's really, really interesting and really a cool comic. I really enjoyed this one. It was very satisfying as a Dial H reader to read this issue. I thought worked really well. Okay, and then Detective Comics 19, which of course is the 900 issue. Nice, super thick thing. I think it was worth the dollar value that you pay for it. Lots of pages. I won't talk about it a lot because this is one of the books I talked about on Excalibur Ritz last week. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, I really like Detective Comics since John Layman and Jason Vankoff got on it. Great artwork, kind of fun stories. No, are they some mind-bending thing that just makes you go, holy crap, and so... No, but I do like the Emperor Penguin storyline that's going on. It's really cool. This just gives us a more fun version of the Batman. He's not quite so serious. I mean, the stuff that's going on is serious, but just an enjoyable romp through the Batman universe. So that's all I'm going to say about that one, because I talked about it a bunch. The other thing. Earth 2, issue 11. We get the embrace of Dr. Fate, which is absolutely fabulous. I love the Dr. Fate character. We also get a brief showing of Mr. Miracle and Barda in this, which I think is awesome. I'm very excited by that. They're just barely in there, but that means they're somewhere in the DC universe. That's exciting to me, because the second that they're in these, that means they can be used someplace else, and we're going to get to see more of them. That's all really super cool and really exciting. I like this issue, but it didn't progress the story a whole long ways, really. But it does add to some of the characters as far as how the Flash is kind of an inspirational character to other people, about what all is at risk by embracing the Dr. Fate helmet and what goes on with it. So, really great comic. I thought the art is outstanding because it's Nicholas Scott. Like I said, really excited by them to be in this. I want to point out in the gatefold cover, I can't remember who it was, somebody commented on the fact that on the gatefold cover, of course, there's Mr. Miracle, and they pointed to this person and said it was Barda. Barda up here, and her costume doesn't look very good here, but it looks better on the inside. This isn't Barda. This is actually Fury. You can see her with her red lasso. That's actually Fury there, not a picture of Mr. Miracle. But Mr. Miracle is in here. Right there. Mr. Miracle and Barda. That is awesome. Very excited by that. Looking forward to seeing more of that. More of the fourth world characters are starting to be introduced across the DC universe. My understanding is some up-and-coming Wonder Woman's. Wonder Woman's actually going to Orion's home world, so that's pretty cool. Hey, next, Green Arrow. Issue 19, of course. Gatefold cover that spoils the hell out of the comic. Really like this artwork. I loved it when it was on iVampire. I want a bunch of books to be, as long as this style, I think DaCosta commented, in fact, he really liked the style as long as it didn't become overused. And he's right. DC DaCosta is. If this style of art gets used in every book, it would be fatiguing. But I'm kind of that way about most art. I really like to have kind of a lot of different arts of a lot of different style. Right now, this is kind of a nitty-gritty stripping down of a character, so this style of artwork that's in it, I think is very good. The limited palette of colors that's in it also lends to this kind of grittiness grind that is becoming Green Arrow's life as he sees everything falling apart around him and comes to the understanding that he has no understanding of who his father was, who Emerson was really, and what the attachment to the island he was stuck on and how it all works. I like the villains that are in this. They seem relatively straightforward to start out with. Less so that way. There's a daughter that's in this thing that is a very ugly girl, very dangerous and brutal, and will make an interesting story, I think. I look forward to exploring this Green Arrow and what his life is going to be like now, and finding out what his father was like and what does that all mean to him and him going forward as a person and as a superhero. And from Boom Studios, Hypernaturals number 10. In this issue, we find out that possibly maybe it's not the AI. It may not be the quantum intelligence that's manipulating everybody. That think, well, the super genius of the hero group believes that maybe it is aliens. That aliens slipped into the quantum engine in what's called the side space, and they are manipulating everything, including Inkwell. And so things in this issue just get more convoluted and complicated in the fact that maybe it's not just it's not simply Sublime manipulating everybody in some crazy stunt. It's not even just potentially just the quantum AI creating a disaster with this anti-Sublime to try and create so much of a chaos that it keeps people believing that it needs the quantum AI to protect them, to now there's actually some other alien life form controlling the quantum AI and therefore controlling everybody else to manipulate them to do whatever they want, whatever that is, which we don't know yet if that's the case. The characters haven't found out what the motivation would be. Really interesting. The one thing I don't like about it is the art is done by a couple people, and so it doesn't feel consistent through the book. Some of it is cleaner lines than others. And it tends to always bother me when there's a shift in artist without it seeming to have a real reason for it. Like, I don't have a problem with the shift in artists if it is a flashback and you want to do that in a different art style than the current stuff. That's fine, that makes sense. But in this case, it doesn't. It's kind of an inconsistent flow. But not bad, just not as good as what I would like as far as that goes. But still, I still think a really interesting alternative superhero book. Next up is Legends of the Dark Knight, number 7. This is Haunted Arkham, written by Harris, art by Masters. This was an okay story. I thought it was unfortunate that the story took the entire comic. It was an entire one-shot. I liked it when the comics are broken up and there's multiple stories in these things. there was some somewhat interesting stuff in it, but as a whole, this is kind of a forgettable story. It was enjoyable for what it was. I'm not upset that I bought it, but it didn't tell me anything new. It didn't give me a new look at anything. It didn't make me ponder Batman in a different way. And a lot of these have, but this one really didn't. It was, you know, relatively mediocre. So if you're just kind of picking these up haphazardly, this is not one that I would suggest picking up. Like I said, it's not awful. You know, obviously if you're completing the series, pick it up because it's not a bad read, but it's nothing exceptional that you should go out of your way or go back to the comic book store to pick up. Yeah. Oh, Miss Fury. A pulp heroine, which I was like, cool, this could be interesting. I don't know anything about Miss Fury at all. We'll check it out and see what it is. This has a lot of cheesecake in it. This has a certain amount of her being naked, a certain amount of her partaking in the dark continent, i.e. sleeping with a native from Africa while she's in Africa. She's fighting Nazis in 1943 in this, and then she's flung into 2013, but there still seems to be Nazis around. It's like an alternate Earth history of some sort. Not sure exactly what's going on. It has some of the pulp noir kind of feel to it in places, and then other places is ridiculously cheesy and whatnot. I mean, if they're going to put her in 1943, they should have her dressed like she's in 1943, and I think the way she's dressed in this, you know, plunging down cleavage and whatnot, I would assume was not the normal for 1943. I might have liked the idea of this book, but I'm not caring for the execution, and I don't think I'll be picking up any more issues of it. There wasn't enough about this that made it interesting enough to satisfy me with base versus the cheesecake, you know, the naked butts and shots and stuff like that are in it that I'm fine with, and can certainly add to a comic if there's a content for it. But, you know, we get her climbing out of a bathtub and get that whole scene to titillate us just for the sake of it. It's like, let's add some TNA in it to get that extra attention or whatever. And I don't know that I need that. I'm not against it if it's adding something to the story that's involved. And I didn't really think it did this. So, more than likely, I don't think I pre-ordered any more issues other than one. And I know I won't be picking up it unless somebody else does a review and suddenly says it's 2 or 3 issues in, this is some incredible book. I won't be getting it past this. So there's that. Phantom Stranger, number 7. Cover shows him getting ran through by Dr. 13, which pretty much is the story here. I do think it's interesting that the spear he uses to run him through looks like what stereotypically gets shown as being the spear of Christ, the spear that Marcus used to stab Christ in the side to hurry along his death to see if he was dead and whatnot. Curious that that's what it looks like, that it's this ancient spear. Some interesting dialogue goes on in here between Phantom Stranger and the Scotty dog, which is the voice, which I don't believe is God. And the reason I say this, I've had some conversation with Sleepy Reader 66 on Twitter about this whole thing, because when he originally, the first time he read it over, he thought the dog was God, you know, the whole witty God spelled backwards and everything like that. But I don't think it is, because I just don't see DC being that heavy-handed in Christianity when you've got all this other stuff going on and whatnot, that it may hint around the edges at that, but not be full on that. They wouldn't have God represented in actually physically in the comic book, I don't think. A minion of God, sure, but not God itself. So I'm not sure exactly what the Scotty represents other than calling him the voice. It seems to me like at some point in the Phantom Stranger's life he did follow God and he did follow Christ or something along those lines, and that obviously didn't work out for him because look where he's at now. You know, and some of the other issues, they made some references to the Lamb, which is typically in reference to Christ. This is a somewhat interesting book. I like some of the ideas that are in it. The dialogue has gotten much better since Dan is not writing it, but it still feels very preachy. And whereas I know there's religious overtones around it, and that's not necessarily what I mean by preachy. It just feels like it's preaching something at me. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be good for this book. I love some of the characters that are in it and stuff. I'm trying to decide if this is something I need to hang on to going into the Trinity Wars, and if that's the case, do I need to go then pick up the Pandora title, which I wasn't planning on picking up. Because, of course, I am doing the Trinity Wars thing with the Justice League and the Justice League of America and Justice League Dark. And they all kind of tie together. So I'm assuming it'll probably run into these characters. I mean, at some point, this gets retitled from Phantom Stranger to A Book of Sin, Phantom Stranger, or something like that. So, major improvements on the art. I really like the art now, but it's done by multiple guys again, and I'd like to see it consistently done by one group of people. But interesting ideas. I'm bothered by the fact that they killed Jack Ryder in this. He is the Creeper. He's the guy who is the Creeper in the old DCU. It looked like they killed him here. He may not be dead, obviously. But, I mean, if they did kill him, does that mean there's not going to be a Creeper? Because I really like the character of the Creeper. He's one of those characters that should come back at some point. They should have him tied in somewhere with some strange thing. Just like they need to get Ragman back and a bunch of those people back, in my opinion. So, anyway, yeah, somewhat interesting. I just don't know. There's things about it that still bug me. Red She-Hulk, issue 64. Now here's a comic I'm really, really enjoying. It's a lot of fun. Red She-Hulk is a funny character. She plays well against Machine Man. The two of them together, they are amusing. In this one, there's a offspring of Mole Man. In this, he is great. He's a hilarious character too. I just think it's a fun book. There's this overreaching arc idea that's going along about this supercomputer that's inside the Earth that they can kind of forecast the future and what does it all mean. And of course, they're still hunting Red She-Hulk down. The original, green She-Hulk shows up and says, "Hey, we're hunting the same person. How about we do it together?" So I don't know what that means going forward. What the heck that's going to really mean? Huge twist at the very end of this book that is just crazy. They get teleported away from one of these pyramids they're secretly in, and Machine Man tries manipulating where they're going to go, and they land at Mount Crushmore, not Mount Rushmore in the United States, but Mount Crushmore, and the faces that are on Mount Crushmore are just awesome. They're all villains. But I'm really liking this. It's just a fun book. And of course, it doesn't hurt that Red She-Hulk's a babe. But a good, consistent artwork all the way through this thing. Fun writer. I'm worried that this probably doesn't sell as well as what it should, which bums me out because I'm really enjoying it. Half of me just keeps thinking at some point it'll get canceled because I don't hear a lot of people really talking about this book. Like I said, I think it's fun. I really enjoy it. Yeah, been good. Frank Avella cover. I think he does the next cover too. All right. Okay, Shadow Man, number 6. Interesting villain in this book that has just appeared, but this book really needs to start actually going somewhere, or I'm going to be done with it too. One really big problem I have with it is up here it lists just one artist, but that's not true. There's like, between all the inkers and the pencils on it, I think there's like 7 or 8 people doing the book, and the inconsistent art really throws it off. So yeah, I don't know. This is quickly on chopping block. I think it's got one more issue to really suck me in, or I'll pull the plug on it. I'll probably order it again. I gotta do my pre-orders. I'll probably order it again, but this 7th issue's got to have something really great for me, or I'll come back to it in a year or something when the character's actually established and the book is really progressing somewhere. Stormwatch is dead. Yes, 100% Scorched Earth reboot of this title. They literally annihilate all of the rewrite the timeline, pulling out all of the old Stormwatch and putting in a new Stormwatch, which is like the old Stormwatch in some ways and totally unlike it in other ways. We'll see where it goes. I mean, there's some interesting, cool new characters in this, but story-wise, I don't know if there's anything here to really get me excited about. So we'll see. This is the 3rd group of creators on the book. Jim Strawn's going to be writing it. We'll see if Jim Strawn can still really write a book or not. Yeah, there's some cool new characters in this. I really don't got a lot to say about it, so I'm not going to waste too much time talking about it. It may be going away already anyway, even though I'm going to say, you know, if it doesn't improve in the next couple of issues, then I'm probably gone too, now that it's changed creators yet again. Lastly, Swamp Thing. This is another book I talked quite a bit about at the Excalibur Brits show. I will just once again reemphasize that I really enjoyed it. I think it's really new reader friendly. If you decide you want to jump on Swamp Thing, this is a decent place to jump on it. It kind of goes back over and talks about how where he was going through the world and what that all meant, and where he's at now, and what he might want to do going forward. I'm still really interested in the idea of the fact that he is seeking out Superman because he's having to make, Swamp Thing is having to make all these hard decisions. He is making these hard decisions to destroy these things that are actually really beneficial to man. You know, people are starving to death, and he's all of a sudden this super rice fields have cropped up, and he's getting rid of the super crop, even though it would feed all these people, because it's not right. There's something unnatural and dangerous about it, so he's getting rid of it. And knowing full well that people are going to starve because he's making those choices. So he's decided he wants to talk to Superman because he figures Superman has to be making these hard decisions too, because Superman knows there's all these deaths going on all the time, and there's no way he can stop them all, kind of a thing. And I know some people don't want Swamp Thing to be heavily tied into the DC Universe. You know, I don't think that he's necessarily going to be. I think we'll occasionally see heroes in a Swamp Thing issue, and vice versa. I think we'll see Swamp Thing in some superhero books. But I'm betting story-wise, this is probably still kind of gonna be its own thing mostly. I think they needed a WTF story, and this is certainly kind of one of them. You know, Swamp Thing, Superman together is kind of a what the F moment. But yeah, I'm happy with the first issue of the new creative team. Art looks really strong in it, and I'm curious to see what kind of stories we're going to tell here. I think that this writer has a good grasp on a voice for Alec Holland, the Swamp Thing, and yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of conversations he has with Superman and vice versa, if they can ever get rid of the immediate problem. All right. That's it for this time around. I didn't split it up because it was just me talking, but it was probably really long. Probably should have been split up. But hey, that's what it is. So that's my books for this week. You've probably seen my no capes. And now there's this. That's the books for the week. So I'll have more books on the next Tuesday. And I'll be talking some more comic books. Anyway, everybody have a great one. Bye.